Welcome everybody, this is the Film Glutton, and this is Buffet, featuring Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom. A discussion between me and JB. We had our first discussion as a retrospective review on the first Jurassic World with kind of different viewpoints, and that's on YouTube now and on my website, thefilmglutton.com. But we both caught Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom at approximately the same time on different coasts. And now we're back again to discuss the sequel, or fifth film, however you call this. So let's get right into it. Welcome back, Jared Blake. Thanks for joining me.
Hey, thanks for having me again. I'm definitely excited to do a nice little recap of Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom that I just got home from. So I went to a late night viewing. If I sound a little tired, I apologize. But, you know, when you go on a roller coaster ride, sometimes it wears you out.
Nice. Well, I did not catch a late night viewing, but I did have, I tried the AMC cocktail for Jurassic World before that.
Interesting.
And then I might have had an extra shot too, but go ahead.
Oh man, I didn't know we could get lubed up to this. What am I doing? No, I went to my, old standby, my nice little Cinepolis 5 minutes behind my house. Very convenient.
Because everyone that's listening can get access to my non-spoiler written review on my website, I'm going to let you go first, but I'm going to ask you to do like just a minute or two or whatever of a general thoughts on the film that's non-spoiler, and then we'll get into it. And I'll flag anyone that's listening the moment we start going into being like spoilers. But I just want to give people something in case they clicked on this and they hadn't seen it. So I'll let you do that if you don't mind.
Yeah, no. It definitely was a very fun ride, a unique... How do I put this? I feel like there's a level of expectation of where the story might be going to that the trailers have obviously indicated, and in 2018 trailers like to show a lot of the story, so we kind of knew it was happening. I still feel like the way they went about it was very unexpected for me. Mm-hmm. So it has more in store than face value, I guess I would say, and definitely worth going and seeing at least once, maybe multiple times. So, it's like most things, not quite the original, but definitely worth your time.
Okay, so that kind of answers one of the questions. Again, with non-spoiler part at least, on this part, you did like the first one better.
Yeah.
And by first one, I mean Jurassic World.
Jurassic World, right. We discussed in our pre-chat for Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, as well as our retro recap of our Jurassic World review. None of them are going to touch Jurassic Park.
Of course.
There's just no way to do it. So yeah, so by the first, of course, Jurassic World. But it's definitely not the same level, but I never expected it. Like Jurassic Park, that's not what I went in there needing to be okay.
Right.
Definitely okay.
Okay, so let me just say one thing that's non-spoiler, just because it can show our unique perspectives once again. I might, before I fully say this with like an explanation mark, maybe this would be kind of like a period question mark, but just walking out of it, I actually enjoyed it more than the first one, in general.
I was afraid you were going to say that. I would say about a third of the way into the film, I was sitting there thinking, John's going to like this one more than the first one, I think.
That's awesome. It's true. No, I mean, it's definitely like, I would say a head-to-head match. Like, I wouldn't like, that's why I'd almost want to view it again before I really rendered that verdict. But I don't know, like, just in general, the parts I hated from this, I could say I hated more than the parts I disliked in Jurassic World, but the parts I loved a lot more. So,
sure.
one final thought. This is kind of like a segue into spoiler part, so I'm just gonna say one thing about one character um, that people may or may not want to. Okay, basically, I'm going to talk really quickly about Ian Malcolm. I have to address it right off the bat before we even get heavy into it. So, if you want to know about Ian Malcolm, listen for 20 more seconds. If you don't, stop now and come back after you watch the film. But
Don't forget to come back.
don't forget to come back. Yes, don't forget to come back. And before I talk about, because I did overall love the film, I got to separate this thought. But screw everybody involved in this film, including Trevorrow as producer, including Universal, including who's the director? Oh shit! I'm gonna Google that while I'm doing that. Screw all of you, because if you listen to the first one, you know all I wanted was Ian Malcolm, and all I was worried about was that it's not even like a full scene. It's like 30 seconds of him talking, and that's it. Screw you, do not put somebody in the trailer when literally all of his lines are in the trailer and try to sell me as a character in the goddamn movie. I was so mad at that. I wanted to throw my soda and my pop. I didn't even have popcorn. I wanted to remove the popcorn from the person next to me just so I could throw that at the screen because I was so mad at that.
For a good cause.
Okay.
This poor guy is sitting there all day. Geez, John.
Right. Okay, I just had to get that off my chest because it's separate from the. Obviously, I really enjoyed the movie, but that bugged the shit out of me. Oh my god. Okay, we'll officially label this now as spoilers going forward.
Spoilers.
Spoilers. Red alert.
All right, I'm ready to spoil.
All right. Did you have any thoughts on Jeff Goldblum? Jeff Goldblum? Since I said that.
From there, I do like how they used him, and since we're in the spoiler section now, and for some reason in our chats, I always seem to jump to the end real quick and then work my way back to the beginning. But I like how they brought it back around with him as well.
Yes.
I think that was really well done, and obviously impactful in the moment of the film as it's setting up. And that I have to say, I'm so glad that you and I got to have the chance to chat.
Mm-hmm.
But right before this movie and do, our prequel episode, so to speak, because as I was watching it, there's things about this movie where I'm like, oh, okay, I see the storyline here. I see this trilogy that Colin Trevorrow, however I say it. I said I was tired. But, this trilogy that he aimed out to tell, and it's like, okay, I see where they're taking this story. And I think one of the best things about the movie is it definitely knew how to take its time with things.
Sure. Yes.
Anything,
Yep.
There was no, the beginning of the movie had a very almost Jurassic Park feel to it. More than Jurassic World did. To your point of, and I think you said something unique there where you said the high, the lows were low, but the highs might have been high. And the thing is, at the end of the movie, and I think this is what I wanted to mention as well before we go much further deeper into discussing the film itself. This is all snapshot reactions. I think anytime, especially with a movie like this that has so many layers because it is part of this giant franchise at this point, things will change between, like you said, second viewings and time and, eventual rewatches of other ones and then this one and really comparing back to back and all. But anyways, my initial reaction was to turn to my wife, who I mentioned in the last episode we did, that she is an even bigger Jurassic fan than I am, franchise-wise. And I turned to her and went, that was really good. And she looked at me and kind of, not upset, but just kind of made a face and goes, really? It was okay. Yeah.
Interesting.
So for a diehard Jurassic, it didn't knock it out of the park for her.
Okay.
And remember, she, like I, went in with lower expectations. To me,
Right.
the lowered expectations worked. That's what it comes
That's
down to. I
good.
think what got my initial snapshot to be like, wow, that was really good is, like I said to you a few minutes ago, I didn't need it to hit Jurassic World level. It didn't have to quite get there. It just had to be worth watching on its own.
Right.
And to me, it is. That's where, even Lost World, as much as we talked mostly positive about Lost World, it's not a movie I'd ever just throw in on its own. This one, I could see it sitting there and go, yeah, I'll throw this in. That was fun.
Nice. Let me just say, J.A. Bayona is the director. I'm just going to call him J.A. if we refer to him, because I'm probably totally mispronouncing that last name. But I want to give him props, because he did a really good job.
I mispronounced Colin's last name. You mispronounced J.A.'s last name. We're equalizing here.
Right? I gotta say, but if we actually just rewind it back and start at the beginning, I mean, before we even get to the story arc and everything, I gotta say that that first sequence, all up until we see the title page, so good. Like our last discussion, I was talking about how I was thrilled but not chilled or whatever. Like I wasn't actually
Okay.
scared at any point in time. That
Sure.
and going back to your point of feeling a little bit more Jurassic Park esque, I instantly had flashbacks and also going back to another point that you pointed out where there was throwbacks that put you back the like the fed on the nostalgia but didn't
Mm-hmm.
just like stomp on it or say we're using it to our advantage. It used it in the best way possible because it very much reminded me of the. I mean, with the because it had like the submarine going down the water and then going up and well, I thought of you right away because of course I'm like, oh, they're bringing in the sea dinosaur. but then out in the rain while he's trying to figure out where the ship is and everything, that
Yeah,
felt
that was
very
cool.
much like that opening sequence from Jurassic Park itself, not Jurassic World. And
Sure.
I don't know, like I was like, ooh, I was invested right away because that open sequence was just blew me away. It was great.
Right. Well, and I got to admit, even though they did the sea dinosaur, which we really got to figure out what the name of that is if we're going to keep
It's funnier to call him sea dinosaur.
I'm pretty sure that's scientific. But as much as they did that whole sequence, that whole action of that as well. So yeah, the trepidations there. I mean, literally, there's something, of course, about eerie, dark sea that instantly makes things scarier, and rain as well. That's why, of course, it's always raining over there in the jungle in those
Sure.
type of moments. But it does. It adds that trepidation. And again, they took their time. They built up to it. There was no rush.
Yep.
There was no reason to run to it. And that's where you get those, the thrills and the chills. But, man, when he's going for the escape and the T-Rex is on his tail and has the thing and is flashing back, as much as it seems after it's done that it makes sense that, he'd jump up out of the sea as we know he does and snatch him, I really thought the T-Rex was going to end up getting him.
Yep.
And somehow or another, I thought he was done for with the T-Rex. And then for him to, which only makes his death that much more of a moment, is the way he's celebrating. I got away! I can't believe it! And then gone.
Well, I do think it's one of those, if you think about it too hard, it would make sense the way they did it, especially since they teased the sea dinosaur. But on the flip side, you're like, yeah, I invested in the moment. I was like, yeah, it caught me off guard. It did what it wanted to do. I will say also, like, there was no, I mean, I felt bad for him as a human being because he died and got eaten up, or at least the character. But hopefully no actual actors were harmed. But especially not my precious Jeff Goldblum. But but then he also had that like that stupid action that you always see characters do where you're like yelling at the screen. Like whenever people are in scary movies are going down the dark alley or whatever, and you're like, don't go down there. Don't go in the dark room. That's where the person is. He's sitting there. He's like, people are shouting at you with it doesn't matter what the fuck I'm sorry. I try not to swear. It doesn't matter what they're saying. It doesn't matter if they're speaking a different language. If you're on an island that you know has dinosaurs and people are yelling anything at you, you drop what you're doing and run. It's his own damn fault. That's the
Oh man, that is true. No, you're right. You're definitely right.
other.
It works. Oh man.
And
If
then,
anything, you feel more sorrow for the guy who was in the little submarine
oh,
thing
for
and
sure.
knew to be scared. You feel bad for him because he knows that I'm probably not going to get out of here.
Yeah.
Like, you're telling me it's fine, but which actually is going to tie into going back to the highs and the highs, the lows and the lows. But there are definitely plot holes in this movie that are more glaring than any I
Sure.
really remember from Jurassic World.
You could say T-Rex size. Badooch.
Yeah.
I was
So.
the other little thing I like from the beginning, like after that intro, when we first get introduced to Claire, Bryce Dallas Howard's character. I do like instantly the first thing we see is her high heels.
Oh, you know what's funny? I didn't notice that.
Oh really? Oh dude, that caught me right. It's first thing we see is it's like it's a very self-aware moment. They're showing the high heels, and then we never see her in the high heels again.
Right. That is awesome. It's funny though because I did think of the high heels at one point when she's on the island and she and the one scientist guy are trying to get out of the bunker that they got locked in, and I think they had just gotten outside and they're about to start running, and I'm thinking, I really hope she didn't decide to wear heels this time.
Yeah. So then, so just to give you a little more of like the meat to what I thought about in general, um, is it's like the first act going into the second act, I was into it. Like I'll be honest with you, when I saw the volcano scene in the trailer, that was the least interesting aspect to me. Jeff Goldblum was, being Ian Malcolm intrigued me. The dinosaur in the house in the bedroom that ended up being the third act intrigued me. But I actually loved all the island stuff that you were talking about. Was most like Jurassic Parky. Um, it was when they got back that completely lost me. In the house with, I mean, the guy that played the bad guy, was it Eli?
The
Yeah,
son-in-law or whatever his
yeah.
name was.
Like,
Yeah, I guess
it,
he's not a son-in-law. I thought he was only because of the clone girl.
right.
This is where the movie gets a little off the rails. Um,
Oh, see, and that's something I loved. We'll get that's towards the end. We'll get to that, but no, it was like he was just a terrible bad guy. He felt like he was from, in the worst way possible, a comic book. Just very one dimensional. Like I'm like,
yeah.
like we can get into like what he does and stuff, but I'm just like that's where it lost me, and I got very bored during that part until the whole mansion sequence at the end. Once they're running from the dinosaurs and we have the bedroom scene, so it's like the first part I absolutely love, then it loses me, and then it gets me at the end, and then I'm on it till the very end.
Nice, nice.
So
I'm with that. Yeah, I definitely think there's a lull there in the middle, and I don't necessarily mean that I disliked the clone girl situation.
okay.
It's more so what I meant was going back to plot holes. They really didn't do a great job of explaining who he was. It seemed like, and this was kind of a cool twist, and I think it's maybe one of the reasons you loved it. It seemed like, to me, especially when he calls her sweetheart after he snaps at her, or right before he snaps at her, whichever it was, and he goes, sweetheart, or whatever he called her, dear, and even though she was calling him Mr. or whatever, sometimes, rich parents, that's how it is.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, he must be the son-in-law, and he obviously was given the company. And so that totally threw me off, because then I'm like, oh, okay, so he literally is just some guy that, James Cromwell, I don't remember the character name, but that James Cromwell handpicked to run everything for him. It's like, oh, it is just so going back to the cliche. Like, there's no depth to either his character or his backstory now.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's just the random guy that was given a bunch of power for some odd reason and decided to go with greed over, good.
Yeah. And yes.
But
and it just felt, I don't know, he felt like a very 90s bad guy.
Sure.
Just not thought out.
I'll go to that.
Yeah.
And I love Ted Levine, who plays, our hunter, our main hunter
yes!
guy, or whatever you want to call
yes!
him. I love him as an actor.
Yeah.
His character was decent.
Right.
But it still was very one-dimensional. It still was very, I'm the hired gun, rough and tumble bad guy.
Almost all the bad guys, almost all of the people you're not supposed to like are, I mean, I guess it makes it easy not to like them then, but they're just not thought out. They're kind of like, oh, like a rough draft version. But ironically, what I will say is, so all the bad guys are rough draft versions, just not fleshed out, not thought out. One of my critiques of Jurassic World was the characters, as you know. And in this one, that's one of the things that won me over. Maybe it's because I had the time to get to know. Okay, I'm just not a Bryce Dallas Howard fan. She's not amazing. She's not bad. She's just kind of there. Chris Pratt is awesome. I've grew to love Owen more so in this film. So maybe it's because I had the whole other film to really, really get to know him. It's hard to say whether or not he was just better in this one, or if it's just because I got to know him so much, I feel connected to him, and he's the connected strand. But then the new characters that they introduced, it's exactly what I wanted. They felt unique to me. They felt they have very unique personalities. The doctor. What's her name? And it's all actors I didn't know.
In the future, we got to start having notes.
Right?
Start doing these.
So
we can
I'm gonna pull it back up on IMDb.
Yeah, go for it. Throw it back in there. But
Zia Rodriguez.
There we go. Yep.
I don't remember saying
her
name.
Really good and
Franklin.
Well acted, like you said.
Franklin was the other guy. Franklin and Zia were the new characters. They were great. They were awesome.
Yeah, and he was fun. And I liked how, without being, pandering to it, it was very modern. It was very 2018 that he was essentially, pardon the machismo in using this phrase, but he was essentially the quote-unquote damsel in distress throughout the movie.
Yeah.
And then she was the badass doctor that, don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Essentially, like, so it was interesting because they did it in such a totally real way, as opposed to being obnoxious with it, like, blaring out what a strong female lead, or not lead, but, co-lead they had. It was just like, no, here's these characters and here's how it works. And they both, to the actors' credit, they both just carried those roles so well.
Yeah. And then I don't see on here who the kid is, but since every Jurassic movie has to have a kid, this kid was so much better than the kids from Jurassic World. I'm so glad they just got rid of them and just didn't even try.
No reason to bring them back. Right. I mean, which is funny, though. You could have easily brought them back as the nephews, but of Claire, but you didn't need to. There was no point, and like you said, there was nothing all that redeeming. The teenager, that probably is the weakest part of the first Jurassic World, is the kid.
Yeah.
Because that teenager's just the generic teenager, and then the young, nerdy kid is weird. That line, I know we're not talking original Jurassic World here, but that line I never brought up is the worst line from the first Jurassic World, where he says, "How big is the island?" And he says whatever, and he goes, "But how much does it weigh?" And to his credit, his brother goes, "That makes no sense. But why even say it?" Yeah,
exactly. And then there was,
there's a script, right?
Yeah. But yeah, no, this kid in this new one was good. It was interesting. I mean, she had more of a story, obviously because of the twist,
Right.
but it was I just felt she was good. I was intrigued
Sure.
because I also like the way they like you knew she was some level of significance, but you didn't really know until that third. It wasn't even without the twist. If the twist didn't happen, um, you're like the whole time you're like, wait, why do we keep cutting back to her?
Right.
And
Oh,
so
for sure.
it
For
was
sure.
it was nice that they did that because it kept me intrigued even if I got a little bored, and then they did bring it all back and either you like the twist or not. But what about in terms of so just up through the volcano sequence going to the island, obviously you like that part. Anything that
Oh
stand
yeah,
out?
no, I did. I will say, okay, so that's actually my first in sequence. I think that was the first negative moment of the film. So,
Which
and what
one?
I mean is,
Okay, the
it's
volcano.
the end of the volcano scene, and
Okay.
only because what's the word? It reminded me of essentially the issues with Indiana Jones 4, the infamous refrigerator scene.
Ah, okay, okay.
It, it just got a little too far where I literally leaned over after the scene where they go down in those gyrospheres, which is so funny they brought those back with how much you hated them.
I know. Well, and that's what's so funny because it worked in this one.
Nice. Oh,
I actually now appreciate it a little bit more because that scene could not have worked as well in a car.
with
But
anything. Yeah, no, for
yeah,
sure.
so I appreciate it a little bit
No,
more. I was laughing at that too, for sure.
that's funny. Well, and the thing is, I didn't mind on the island. It's not the volcano itself.
Okay.
It's as soon as they are exiting the volcano into the ocean and, obviously battling death. And first of all, when the soot and all that overtook him with the dinosaurs and everything else, I'm supposed to believe that as much as he's our hero, that this human somehow outran / survived this.
Yeah.
All of these dinosaurs are dead.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So none of them could get out. Not none of them, but you know what I mean, for the most part. But he somehow got out, jumped off through the soot, landed in the water, found them in the gyrosphere, and then after a lot of time, even though he did swim up once and come back, by the time that he came back and tried to break, it was just too much. It was. I know it was there for what he caught, but they definitely could have shortened and tightened and made it just a little more believable for me there. So everything leading up to that, though, even the initial Indoraptor, because that is what, obviously, that is, that he keeps going, it's the T-Rex, and then it ended up being the Indoraptor, the initial one. Which, again, goes back to what I don't feel like Jurassic World did, and I definitely don't feel like Jurassic Park does much of. There's a lot of, we're just going to kind of say this, and then we're going to kind of show it to you, and then we're going to just kind of move on. It's not all that important anymore. Because, they alluded to whenever they said about Blue being the second smartest creature on the island.
Yeah.
And they alluded to whenever afterwards you have Dr. Wu continuing to say about this Indoraptor and the whatever, like however he said it, that essentially let us know like there was one before or something along those lines,
Yeah.
So, but the action of that scene, and especially going back to our quote unquote, what is the doctor's name? The guy doctor?
Which guy doctor?
Wendell? No. Where am I getting Wendell from? Am I just making that up?
I'm not sure.
He looks kind of like a Wendell. The one that was with Claire in the control room when they locked him in there with the original Indoraptor. What's his name? I called him our damsel in distress.
Yeah, I'm scroll up. Yeah, sorry.
Blanking. Oh, okay. I thought you had it there. Sorry.
No. I'm scrolling up. That's the Franklin.
Franklin. There we go.
Yeah.
So I love that when he's climbing up the ladder and he goes, "We made it!" Then it fell. That was just great.
Yeah.
The whole action of that was great.
Yeah.
The timing of that was awesome. And even like the humor / intensity of them being on top of the building, and then you have him coming running out of the woods.
Yeah.
Oh, and how great his scene was as he's coming out of the tranquilizer, and first, this giant dinosaur stomping. You don't know what it is.
Oh
And
my.
the Triceratops. The only thing that would have been funny and would have been another nice little Easter egg type thing would have been if he had started to crap on it. You know what I mean? Started the pile, but it wasn't necessary. It just would have been fun. But just that, yeah, and his performance in that scene, Chris Pratt's was
Oh,
awesome.
oh, dude, no, unbelievable. And that's part of why I loved all of it so much, because I can't complain about too many of the characters at that point in time because of that. Like, just seeing him, like, yeah, the having him being licked by the dinosaur was so great. But then just having him uh, talk about finding unique ways to add suspense. Like, okay, so he's had a tranquilizer, the lava's approaching him, and he has to somehow get out of there. Like, I was
Yeah.
on the edge of my seat for that. I really was.
Sure. Even though you know it's gonna happen, it's still just so exciting, and so the stakes are so high because, like you said, there's multiple. He's under the trank. He's in the middle of nowhere. There's lava coming. There's dinosaurs.
And then
Everything's going on.
what's beautiful about Chris Pratt is there was a touch of comedy, because you can't help but do that with being a little bit of funny, but it wasn't like slapstick. That could have been done so poorly. So
You're right. You're totally right.
to his credit, he treaded that line very nicely, where it's like, okay, I'm slowly getting feeling back, you know.
Right. And where he can, yeah, and it does go to his ability as an actor that he can both, as he's saying, like, oh no, all right, come on. You hear both the lightheartedness,
Yeah.
Chris Pratt charm, and the panic and the fear of,
Yeah.
all right, I'm doing this kind of, I'm trying to stay positive, but there's a big pile of lava coming towards me, and I can't feel 90% of my body yet.
And then also carrying
So
on
that was good.
something we also talked about last time, which was especially Jurassic Park 3, where they did so terribly carrying on the Velociraptor evolution, and then Jurassic World, we both felt did it in a proper way. This kind of, I like the way they continued it. It's like they edge it forward ever so slightly. They have established him as a trainer. They established that he can do certain things. Now we get a little backstory with him watching the videos, and it just made it more believable. And it's like we're growing with that knowledge through each film.
Sure.
You know.
I'll agree with that. On the flip side, there's also a line of complaint there, only because how did Blue somehow become better trained and more loyal in this one than the initial? What happened?
Yeah. Yes.
And the point where Blue turns and becomes the alpha and all that, Now,
Yeah.
I did say to that, as I was discussing it with Andrea, I did say, well, at the end of Jurassic World, though, Blue was fighting the T-Rex to kind of try, or the Indominus Rex, to try and kind of help. So maybe there was that of the compassion. But yeah, it was just tough for me that he was so confident, like he's going to let, or she's going to let me, pet her nose and everything's cool, when I'm like, in the last one, she essentially tried to eat y'all.
Yeah. No, that's true.
What made your bond stronger? So to your point, they made it make sense that they were that bonded by showing that. And in the first one, they talk about how they're bonded and all that. In this one, they just kind of ignored the fact that either she was not trained / loyal enough in the last one to where she should be based on the years of training, or she's a little bit too loyal and trained in this one.
Yeah.
To where she was last time. But, and again, that just goes back to the highs are highs, the lows are lows. That, to me, is a bit of a plot hole.
Yes.
There was another, too, that's more a dialogue plot hole. But,
Okay.
So, because it goes back before James Cromwell's character, when he's talking to Claire about going to the island and doing this and saving the animals, he quotes with passion a line from The Lost World. if you remember, where he says, John Hammond said it best. These creatures don't need our help.
Uh-huh.
They need our interference. Don't need our interference. Yeah. They need our absence. Sorry.
Yes.
These creatures don't need our help. They need our absence.
Yep.
As I'm asking you to go help them.
Right. Yes.
Wait a minute. Wait.
Yes.
Why is that quote not appropriate there at all?
Right.
That was the worst of the nostalgia, and of course it comes from a movie that I like that they nostalgia to it, but for the most part I think most people don't even realize that it was in that one anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, that's funny.
Yeah.
Just to go with the blue, because you're right. There is a lot major plot hole element with the blue character, but I think what made it work is, again, you're kind of going along with it because you do know, like, you have to buy in the first one that he's able to train him. But what I did like about Chris, it's almost like any wild animal trainer. If you run into a bear trainer or whatever, they have there's a love, but there's a respect for the fact that it's still a wild animal.
Yeah.
So, for instance, the subtle detail. So, like, yes, there was a little bit more of a leap, but they still incorporated. I liked a little bit of the backstory with the videos, and then there was still like he didn't remove the muzzle from Blue. He was like, well, it's still a dinosaur, and we're gonna poke at it, and he's not gonna like the fact that we're digging a bullet. And then, not to cover anything else, but since we're just talking about Blue, we can wrap up Blue with talking about his choice at the very end. Not touching on the red button yet or anything, but Blue looking at him being like, dude, stay with me, you don't know what you're doing. And Blue being a wild animal, looking at him, and then looking at the wilderness, and then what he chose.
Yeah.
The wild, that goes back to him being ultimately the wild animal that he is,
He's an animal, yeah. And like you said, Owen understands that too. Like, where he's like, as much as he wants to do that out of love and protection for Blue, he gets it. Like, he's gonna run off now.
But then once they get back with all those dinosaurs, I'm just like, it really loses me there. Like, I guess the main arc of the story of what they're trying to do is where it does lose me, which is a terrible thing to say, and that's where I struggled with the film, because that's where you get a lot more of the human bad guys, because at least on the island it's more of man versus nature, and then the man versus man elements, or dinosaur versus man to some degree. It so lost me. Like, I don't know. Like, I even started to be like, oh my god, can I snooze? Can I snooze and still do a show after this and just take a quick, ask the person next to me that doesn't have popcorn because I already threw it at the screen, be like, could you wake me up when it gets good again? Because it did get good. It just lost me for a little while at those parts. What do you think?
Yeah. Oh, I'll put it this way. I know exactly what you're talking about, because as much as I say overall, and it is overall positive, that this movie took its time. And actually, that ties into where it took its time. Even when they go civilized, let's say, and they bring them from the island onto, the main continent, they did it in a light way, right? Like, it's all in the compound. They put you at this billionaire's compound so that you have land in one giant building and then everything else. So it still has an islandy feel to it. And so that excites me, because I just thought that it would be, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, maybe not even quite an hour of on the island / saving the, what do you call it? And then the rest would be not only in the rest of the world and amongst humans, but it would go widespread quick. And so I like that they dragged it out.
Yeah.
When it gets to the point that they're back at the island and they just back from the island with all the dinosaurs, that whole chunk of movie is where it felt like they dragged it out.
Oh,
that's
painfully.
Where I started to feel from, oh wow, I'm glad you're taking your time to. Okay, you're taking too much time now.
I mean,
I don't know.
Like, literally, for as much as I love, there's like, what is that? Like 30 minutes of the film, I felt very much like Blue when he's trying to get the bullet removed. I'm like, can
Laying
you?
there dying.
Yeah, I'm laying there dying. Somebody's digging in my side, trying to get a bullet. I'm just like, can you please stop? It hurts so bad. I would eat you if I didn't have this muzzle on. This is so terrible. Terrible actors. Not terrible actors. I'm sorry, terrible characters.
Yeah, yeah. There's
Uh,
no bad actor because like Ted Levine, good actor. I don't know
yeah,
the guy who played the whatever evil corporate guy.
yeah, he's forgettable, so I'm not even gonna give him a shout out.
Sure. Yeah, I don't care what his name is. I feel bad about that one. I think his official name. I think they just called him in the film "Evil Corporate Guy."
Evil corporate guy. He might as well have been. Might as well have been. You had like evil henchman, evil corporate guy. There's
right there. For a multi-billionaire who obviously was as rich, if not richer, than John Hammond, and went in on this venture with him and all that stuff. It's pretty bad judgment that he would hire a guy to run his company whose name is Evil Corporate Man Number One. But,
exactly. And I got it.
What do I know?
And then there's that one guy that plays the Nazi in Civil War.
Oh, man.
I'm gonna find his name.
He was like the other gun guy. Oh no! Oh, that guy. Yes.
You know what I'm talking about.
The auctioneer.
Yes.
Sure.
Toby Jones. Yeah, Toby Jones.
Oh, nice. I didn't know that was his name.
I hope that's him. Yeah, it's got to be him.
You're right. Yeah, I didn't. I just never knew that actor's name, even in Marvel films. I would say because he was in Civil War, but he was in a few others.
Yeah.
I think.
It's not even Civil War. It's Winter Soldier. Let me get that right, just because.
Winter Soldier.
I love Winter Soldier. So.
Yep.
But then like I gotta say this, like I gotta be honest, the house, oh my god, the rooftop sequence. I'll be honest with you, at first, I remember when we first saw the house, I was like, okay, I know this guy's rich, but holy shit, what are they trying to, like, are they like everything has to be like world size? Like it's no longer Jurassic Park, so even the house mansions have to be freaking castles in a museum and a state. I'm like, this is so like ridiculously overly done. But then it really worked out in the end. It was like a great like final climactic battle, and you needed all that room.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
I mean,
it really did. Not to mention, and for the basement that can house however many dinosaurs, to make any sense, especially as a secret compound basement that not even everyone in the house knows about, it had to be that big.
Yes. It cost him at least $1 million. Okay. But then like I was waiting the whole time for that damn bedroom sequence. And because I will admit that's the only thing from the trailer. Seeing that, I wanted a little bit more of that stuff, a little bit more of the thriller. But that's okay because we're all gonna get that in the third one. That's what the third one's all gonna be. So, but it really did. I mean, the fact that when she was going into the, I don't know what that's called, like the butler or something like that, the elevator, the food elevator thingy.
Oh yeah.
I had this weird flashback to the first Jurassic World where the girl was trying to shut down she was hiding in the kitchen in the compartment and she couldn't get the door closed.
You mean Jurassic Park?
Yeah, Jurassic Park. Yeah.
Totally. It did. Oh, there's so many things, and it goes back to the Jurassic franchise, starting with Jurassic World, has perfected nostalgia.
Yeah.
Because there's so many things. The goat in...
Oh, yes! The goat!
It's just in the corner, chained up the same way, and this time the T-Rex goes, yeah, I'm a T-Rex, and it's a friggin' goat. I'm going to eat it because it's right there. Like,
yeah. No, that's so
good. I'm in a cage. Like,
so great.
No, and I love that. And then an Easter egg I should have mentioned while we were talking about the island scene.
Mm-hmm.
You realize what we saw in that island scene, don't you?
I don't know.
Let me try and think of where it was, and maybe it'll help you. Was it when they found Blue? I think it was when they found... Yes, it was the car that Blue is standing on top of. The Jurassic Park vehicle.
Okay.
That has to be the Jurassic Park vehicle that Timmy falls out of the tree. Well, pulled out
Oh,
of the tree.
right.
Because it's upside down next to a giant freaking tree. It's one of the original vehicles. The island is huge. They had the old compound on it.
Yep.
Established they didn't go out, which why would you with dinosaurs? They didn't go out and
Excavate? Yeah.
excavate every inch of the island, so they would have left it.
Yeah.
And that's, that totally is what that was. I know that that'll come out as an Easter egg of what that's supposed to be, because it was right next to the tree, upside down. What other car would it be?
Yeah. No, that's cool. I did not catch that, but now that's something that maybe would be fun to go watch again just to catch that. I mean, I can't because Movie Pass has blocked me out now. But maybe once I get on the A-list. Yeah.
I know we're probably running way over on time, and definitely shouldn't side note, but you heard about that with the AMC one. The great thing is you can book in advance on the app, and as soon as you there's no physical card, so you sign up and you're using it.
I covered that in my episode. Did you watch that?
Oh, sorry, I didn't get that yet. We talked about it. I think I alluded to the episode earlier too to try and promote it for you.
Right. Oh, that's okay. That's my favorite thing, to have guests on that actually haven't watched my show, because then I could do whatever I want to. I could tell them anything. But yeah, so we're already a little long in time, but we got to cover for sure. The big thing is, okay, so the twist with the girl. So you were kind of like, were you having mixed emotions about that? Did I feel?
Yeah, only because.
Just so everyone,
no, go ahead.
Just so everyone, I mean, you shouldn't be listening to this if you haven't seen the movie, but she has dino DNA in her, pretty much.
Dino DNA. But no, they genetically engineered her as a clone of his daughter who had died.
Right.
And the twist was great, actually.
But she does have some dino too, right? But she does have some dino, right?
Is that a real thing? Did they actually?
Well, okay, I was originally just making the joke because the only thing I remember for sure is them saying that she was a clone of her mom, which is the only thing they expressly say. But the only reason why I actually thought it towards the end was because when she had the hand on the red button, what she says was, she says something like, I'm one of them or something.
No, she says.
What does she say?
She goes, I had to let them out. They're alive, just like me.
Okay.
In other words.
Yeah, no, I get it.
They're real because they're alive, and I'm real because I'm alive. It doesn't matter that I'm a clone. I'm still a being.
Okay. Yeah, so, I don't know, like, I still, like, it's probably reading way too much into it, because you're right, that's pretty much how you can translate. And the only thing they say in the film is that she's a clone of the mom. And that's what I thought up until that moment. But when she said that, I was like, is there something else here? Because of where they're going with the storyline in terms of, who actually has domain over the earth, and what does it all mean,
So that would be the appropriate time to talk about that with the title. I wish I had said it in our last one. I'm kicking myself, and I thought it walking into the theater tonight, and I go, gosh, why didn't I say this on the other episode? Was it blatantly obvious, or did I just happen to catch ahead? I knew Fallen Kingdom had nothing to do with the fact the island was going to be destroyed. Especially once they showed us the island getting destroyed, but that has nothing to do with it. It's obviously saying Kingdom of Earth.
Yes. No, 100%, which is cool. Oh, the other thing that made me think that, the little things that made me go with her is also, I mean, it's just, the director was, J.A. was really good. There's a lot of little great shots in here, but one of them is when the dinosaur, she's looking in the glass, and you see the dinosaur in her face.
Oh, yeah.
And it merges. So it was those two things that I was like, I feel like there's something more they're not fully developing here that they're going to tell us in the third one. Because of that, because they merge them.
Yeah, as we discussed before, I wonder too if it kind of trickles into your brain just because that is where Spielberg was going to go with
Yeah.
the initial fourth part of
Yeah.
Jurassic Park.
Yep.
And so it would make sense that they might circle back to that in, a less over the top type of way, which obviously if it's that subtle and then they utilize it more in the next one, it's not over the top. So
Yeah.
that'll be interesting. But no, overall I liked her. Like we said, I definitely liked the performance. I liked the character. I liked the twist, especially because I'm sitting there, and I'm sure most of us were, trying to figure out what female character she's related to that we already know.
Okay.
You know what I mean? When they keep saying, because where she says, "Did she ever visit the park?" and he said, "Yes, once."
Yeah.
And from that moment, I'm sitting there trying to tie in. Okay, who could it have been? And I even tried to think outside the box because I'm like, well, it couldn't have been Dr. Sadler. It couldn't have been the granddaughter of John Hammond,
Right.
unless they went like some, that they were lovers route, and maybe it was both of their granddaughter. But they couldn't have necessarily gone there without going with a wild left turn. And so I'm like, who could it be? And I even wondered if it might have been Ian Malcolm's girlfriend from Lost World. I can't even remember her name, but that Julianne Moore played. I'm like, maybe it's gonna be her. And they just, make it. And so I'm trying so hard, and because of that, or maybe even without that, I wouldn't have caught it. I never thought of anything to do with her being genetically engineered or clone or any of that until they showed it.
Yeah.
It totally did suck me.
And then
whether or not a twist is good is, to me, is it believable and yet shocking?
right. No, it's believable, shocking, and thirdly, since we're not getting the third one, it makes it it gives us a more like how do you evolve the storyline from Jurassic Park, the concept of the morality issues they were dealing with, and then they literally evolved it, they literally said, okay, so we're going to take this, you human beings, all you viewers still want to see genetically engineered dinosaurs. We've told you this is a bad idea, but you keep buying tickets to come see our movies. Fine, we're going to screw directly with you and your humanity. This is a human clone, and you said it's okay because you've bought the 5th film ticket.
That's funny.
But anyway, so the other thing is, then the question is the red button.
Sure.
That single-handedly won me over with the film. Red button, they're standing there. The dinosaurs are either going to die or they're going to go out and create actual Jurassic World. Right?
Right.
But so twofold question. One, would you have hit the button? You got to ask that. This is going to be, and this is like, that's what's great about it. Like, this film gave us something that Jurassic Park didn't. It's like a Matrix-y type question. Now you can have philosophical questions. Would you hit the button? That's a whole conversation by itself,
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah.
But being that being said, would you have hit the button, and what do you think about the button? But would you have hit it first?
No, I have to say that part first.
Yes.
Before I can say what I would not have hit the button.
Oh.
I would not have hit the button. As much as I am a dinosaur lover, and hate the idea of a bunch of innocent creatures dying, I think by this point in time, if I'm putting myself in their exact shoes, so everything has proceeded in my life, what's happened to them, and I'm standing in front of that button, right?
Mm-hmm.
And everything that preceded me. So in other words, we know Ian Malcolm. Like, I train raptors, so obviously I read all of Ian Malcolm's books, both pre and especially post Jurassic Park. I've read, all of them. Anything that they've done, anything to do with the initial part. So I know everything that has gone wrong time and time again, and I know how hard we've worked to control these and that there's no controlling. I know what you just said. Because, in that moment, in technically speaking, you don't know if they're actually going to be able to get out and then take over the world.
Right.
You just essentially know that you may never fully contain them again, right?
Right.
But I know from everything that's happened that there's a fairly strong chance they actually go out and take over and alter the entire world. And the fact that we created them, we didn't find them, we created them. And if they had had our absence as opposed to our intervention, as John Hammond once put it, they would have all been destroyed on that island anyways. So they would have all been gone. I would have had those roll with the guilt and let them go.
Nice.
But I did love that scene, and I love the way they carried it out. Actually, I love the fact that she was in it because I related to her choice, Claire's choice. Where she says to herself, I can't do it. I just can't. I want to, but I can't. It's not right because of the potential fallout. And then I love that the little girl goes, screw you. I'm still a kid, essentially. All I know is my heart tells me I got to let him go. You know?
Well, see, and that's why you and I make either terrible friends or good friends, because you would have said, I'm not going to hit the button, and I would have been the guy behind you hitting the button.
Right.
Because I act impulsively and for life initially, and don't always think all the way through. Be like, no, hit the red button. These animals are dying. Holy shit.
Right. But to your point of it being such a great conversation piece for the future when talking about this movie, and any movie that can do that has obviously achieved something. It shows the depth of that question that nobody got mad. The little girl hits it. Nobody goes, what did you do?
Right.
It's like, no, we get it. And same thing. Like, you and I would be in a room, and I'd be like, I want to, but I just can't. And then you'd run up and do it, and I'd be like, well, the part of me that wanted to is really, really happy right now,
Yep.
So it is, yeah, no. But again, yeah. So definitely things like that this movie had.
Yep.
Which again, the highs are high.
Yeah.
And yeah, the button scene was carried out.
It's what the whole thing's about to me.
And that's awesome. I honestly, I don't mind because I knew it was coming.
Yeah.
I don't mind the dinosaurs going out and quote unquote spreading and taking over the world. What I am worried about for the third one, because it is a trilogy and so they have this all mapped out, is that we're going to jump another 8-10 years into it. We're going to have the dinosaur version of Planet of the Apes a little bit.
Yeah, oh sure.
Way to that fallout, so to speak. And my issue with that is that unless they didn't establish it well enough, which they spent way more time, as we've discussed, than you and I wanted to in the basement, essentially, like before the breakout of the dinosaurs, but in the house. And they really didn't establish that they have enough dinosaurs to procreate.
Yes.
Who's Blue gonna procreate with?
Oh, that's so funny.
I don't know about what.
Dude, can I tell you, I literally thought that when I was watching it, but then I thought about, like, you saying it's just a dinosaur movie. Like, from our last... Because I did think that for 2 seconds. I was like, guys, just let them out. There's not enough to actually just have a couple of... There's plenty of hunters in this world. They'd eat a lot of them, but there's plenty of hunters that eventually they would just knock them all out. But then I just let myself... Because of the red button, I let myself go, and I go... Where is this? I'm like, I don't know if I would have bought that ending if they didn't have the red button, but since that whole film was about the morality of what it means, the fact that we created that button, and all the circumstance around it, it's all in our hands. We birthed it, and now we have final control over it, and to the point in time where once you hit that, it's literally done. We lose control at that point in time. So I was with it, because of the metaphor, I'm like, I'm just going to let it go, But I did think about that. I thought about more of, like, what excited me was I was thinking zombie films.
Nice.
I was thinking, like, what I would love for them to do with this. Let me just say, even though I did say I would hit the red button, I also thought about psychologically. There's a chance that there's a solid chance I wouldn't have, not because my inclination would have been to hit the red button, even though I fully understand your argument. But there was that one, like, psychological study where it's like they try to figure out where people fall, and it's not that people tend to take good actions more or bad actions more. They tend to essentially panic, and sometimes they are more, human beings are more susceptible to inaction and defending that inaction. And normally they do that by
Okay.
relinquishing the control. Like, so for instance, there's three people in that room. I mean, I was thinking, I don't know what the study is. Maybe if I can find it, I can throw it on here or whatever. But like, since there's three people in that room, then one of the people is going to say, well, I'm going to leave it up to somebody else because somebody else is going to make a better choice than me. Or another person might say, I'm not that close to the button. Like, that's psychologically tends to be what happens. So that's probably what I would do. But what I thought about is after that, aside from the psychology of hitting that red button, is, oh my god, I've already bought my ticket for the third one at this point in time. And they're not going to do this because it's too much of a moneymaker. They got to make it. But what I want them to do is, I thought zombie film, I was like, I want them to wait like 10 years before they make the next one.
Nice.
I want Pratt to be older. I want everyone to be older. I want the dinosaurs to have plenty of time to populate, to wreak mad carnage. They maybe not like complete dominion over the world, but like thorough. I want it so far like along the way that they're thoroughly into this struggle, because that's where the best point of that story, as opposed to right after this film where we're like, oh my god, the dinosaurs are attacking people randomly. Personally,
Right,
for me,
right.
what do you?
Yeah,
But either
no,
way,
I totally get that.
I've bought the ticket. So
Oh yeah, no. And in fairness, I would have probably. And there's very little they could have done in this film to get me to not buy the third ticket for sure. But yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be a real delicate balance. We literally could end up with something. I would say, for me, Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom definitely falls third in the overall series. It goes Jurassic Park, Jurassic World, and then Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom for me. It does come in above Lost World, even though obviously the Ian Malcolm disparity is glaring. But I thought of things that we had talked about with that too, where when it was him and just that scene at the beginning, and then especially once they brought him back at the end, I think they can salvage your rant from earlier, the Ian Malcolm issue, because he told you, that Colin did, that that people were gonna not have the thing they wanted to have, so to speak, in this film. I think that includes Ian Malcolm. I think if they don't wait 10 years, you have a real golden opportunity to utilize Ian Malcolm and use him more so, have him as an important, some kind of, base of operations, at least.
Oh god, yeah.
Brain, you know what I mean? And have him in the fight, because as much as he would never go back to the island, and you never could have done that believably, he wouldn't even be involved in any of it. If it truly is starting to become a dinosaur infestation, essentially, that's where he might step up, and you could use him. So they could use him a lot in the third one, and then I think it would, totally justify and rectify the fact that they only used him sparingly in this film.
Right. Or yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I realize I kind of went off on that Ian Malcolm tangent, but yeah, it definitely falls third. I don't remember why I was mentioning that, but now that answers that question before it gets asked.
No, that's good. I would say, since I like your idea, go with Ian Malcolm. I would say do my zombie-esque thing. I'm totally thinking off the cuff. Don't do this because I just thought of it, but have it be where it is like at least a little bit in the future where they had time to cause enough carnage to where humanity cannot just really rely on the centralized military. I think that's the big thing.
Sure.
So the military's trying to gain control, but people have to find a way to survive on their own. You just got to find that magic window. But you could actually, have it where they're going through like a village or a town or whatever. So like you can have all the cool things you want in a city, and then they finally get to a safe house, and it's in the third act, and it's Ian Malcolm, because he knew this all along. So all he did was become one of those kooks that secretly built the perfect dinosaur shelter.
Right.
And the dinosaurs go straight for it, of course.
Right. Oh man, I can totally picture that being so much fun too. It could be like, the whole second act into the third act of the film, because instead of having it start off like that, they could even, if they could keep it quiet, that he's going to be involved at all.
Oh yeah.
And then have him be a major part of it, have him have this perfect bunker, and I can totally see it where they stumble upon him essentially, and then he brings them in, and they keep commending him on how prepared he is. And because he's Ian Malcolm, he's going, there is no preparation. No one's prepared. There's no perfect space.
Yeah, exactly. And he's just kind of made himself go crazy since like reality's kind of backed him up. So he's even more eccentric than he ever was. And oh my God, that could be fun.
For sure.
All right. I think we covered all the bases. I'll give you one last second if there's anything else you want to say about the film. But I think that covers it. I'm fine with ending on Ian Malcolm in the third one.
Nice. Yeah. I think I definitely, like I say, they're the question marks and holes. I feel like there was one other I thought of. Oh, no, we got to end on one more thing, John.
Okay.
Why did they keep saying all the dinosaurs were going to be dead when they were on the island? That was never explained. They kept going, is the T-Rex here? No, he's probably dead. Don't worry when they're in the water. Don't worry. Anything down here is long dead by now.
Yes, you're right.
It doesn't make any sense. They're also on the island to collect dinosaurs. So why are they both all already dead and yet all alive and ready to be saved because they're about to die? That makes no sense.
No, absolutely. I think we'll put that with plot.
No. Yeah.
I think the first time that doesn't even make sense. I think the first time when they said it with the sea dinosaur, right?
Sure.
Was, again, it's just me thinking too quickly because it still doesn't make any sense, especially in the sea. You'd have plenty of food. But my line of logic that I was going with was there wasn't going to be enough food, so like just them being neglected. I guess the only way to justify it, because it is a huge plot hole, is just going with the human hubris. So if we turn it to the metaphorical level, we can say the human hubris said they can't survive without us. That's the only way I'm going to defend it, because it doesn't make sense, but it has a little bit of it resonates a little bit with that, at least.
Right. You can find at least the reason why a character might say it, not that it would be an overarching theory that would keep coming up. But yeah, like you said, they also know that, unfortunately, the only reason that doesn't work to fully justify, not that you worry, that it's still a plot hole, is because they are there to collect dinosaurs. Other than the one in the water, they're there to actually collect living dinosaurs. and actually, even for the guys in the water, it would make sense because it's all over the media.
Right.
The debate rages on. What do we do with dinosaurs?
Yeah. No, that's a good one. That's a good plot hole. Well, if anybody...
Other than that, everything was great.
Yes.
Not everything, but you know what I mean.
Decent.
Other than the holes, everything else worked. The action's great. The storyline's interesting. The trilogy lives on. The third one excites me still. So.
No, absolutely. And if anybody listening has any ideas for some of the plot holes, leave it in the comments. Let's hear some of them. If there's something we missed or a different theory, I would love to have people react in comments of if they would hit the red button or not. That would be interesting. And beyond that, definitely give us more Jeff Goldblum. Listen to our third act surprise idea, dinosaur zombie. Am I totally crazy by thinking she had dino DNA? All right, and to everyone else, I just want to remind you all to never turn down the upgrade. Have a good night, folks.